Yeah, okay. I mean, the first thing is congratulations to these youngsters. I mean, I saw your mother's post on the Evergreen Women's Group. Ah, Myra, okay. Well, so I was so curious to come and listen to what you had. Very interesting because I've been thinking about doing, so just briefly, I have an organization, a non-profit organization called Foundation for Equal Citizenship that has started in India. Talking of climate change, I'll just briefly talk a little about the reality on the ground. I was in Delhi just like 3 weeks ago, but I'll get to that in a minute. So I've been doing that non-profit for since 2015. But I registered my organization here as FAPC USA last year. And for the last 3-4 months, I've been thinking, since I live in this community here, I want to give back to the community in San Jose as well, and I want to engage with youth because I have a history of working with youth. I was part of the post 9/11, all the anti-war movements, the early times of the boycott BDS movement. I was very, very involved in that with a lot of youth. When all these groups, the student groups at Berkeley, Stanford, were just coming up. So I love working with youth, and we're working with youth in India as well. So I've been thinking about that. And then when I saw your post, and I said, wow, this is so interesting that there are these guys who are doing such interesting stuff, I mean, talking about serious issues, but you have this, this channel of anybody coming and, speaking on the mic, and that's a pretty cool idea. So I wanted to come and see that. So congratulations on that, and listening to you and your organization, very impressive. So, I have seen, like I said, I was born in India, raised in India. I came here as a student, like many in the tech Silicon Valley, as we know are. But I moved back to India for about 6 years, 2014 to like just before COVID. I could see the difference in temperatures and how like summer and winter have both shortened. And summer has become too long. Spring and autumn have become really short, and the months that used to be very nice in Delhi, like March, April, or November, are the most polluted. So you could enjoy the lovely weather because most of the time Delhi is very extreme, But now the problem is the nice weather time is extremely polluted. And I mean, even summer, I was there in May, right? There was not a single day that I could see the sun. In hot summer, and you can't see the sun. Because the skyline, my God, it's like so polluted. And I've been there in November, and because I was living there, it's horrible. So during COVID, we had to change what we were working on. I mean, typically we work on education, but also a lot of work with youth. And some of it just like awareness about climate action, which is very challenging working in a slum. They are some of the people who are really impacted, but the solutions that can actually make sense to them are I've been struggling with that, honestly. So anyway, we did a series of webinars over there, and we had one which was with activists who are in the tribal belt. If you're familiar with India, tribal belt is in the middle to east of East India, right? Chhattisgarh area. There they can really see the impact of climate change big time, but there lies some of the solutions. The governments, the previous one, but even more this one, has been changing the policies. Actually, policies, it's only this government that's changing the policy so that large corporations, Adani, Ambani, who are the Indians, but also multinationals, can come and extract the minerals. So it's heavily forested, that area, right? It's the indigenous population of India. Those are the original Indians, you know. They are being moved out of their lands, right? And so, like, the level of destruction that's going on over there, you know, and hearing people talk about that. So it's very complex how to kind of resolve this, but India and Pakistan are very high on the list of countries who will be very severely impacted, or already are. You know, the glaciers are melting, right, in the Himalayas. You can see droughts somewhere, some floods, you know, in other places. People say that they never saw some snow, like they never saw snow last year in the Himalayas in Kashmir. Like, so, you know, it's like there you can really meet people who are severely impacted already. I mean, and we know about climate, you know, they're calling them climate refugees, but it's very interesting. There's a documentary, you guys, if you haven't seen it, on Al Jazeera. They've started a series on climate change and covering different topics. The first one was on the impact of militarization, which people don't talk about. So to your point about policies, and also the fact that part of capitalism is you're putting the onus on ordinary people, and no matter how much we try to, I mean, we should, fast fashion, you know, I like, this is 10 years old, my trouser, you know, but no matter how hard we try to recycle our plastic, do this, do that, the amount of, like, you know, damage that the US military, just the US military, forget rest of America and our, you know, companies, just the military, the amount of damage it does through the different wars is just mind-blowing. And to talk about that is the most difficult part. You, Green Party knows about that. I love your, you know, no war, but to connect the no war with this climate justice and you know, the impact on, I mean, nobody's talking about what, I mean, Gaza, yes, people are, babies, kids are dying, yes, that of course is horrendous in itself, there's a genocide going on, but what about the damage to the environment? And all the wars that the US has been like, you know, doing. So much for the Democratic Party being very upset about, like, you know, the protocols by, say, Trump. Not, I mean, okay, all that needs to be done, but it's really nothing compared to if you go around bombing countries, right? So, so it's just a perspective, different perspective from the other side of the world, where the people, I mean, here you mentioned ACs in Texas. Most people that we work with, they are like people in slums. You would have, I would say, easily eight homes in this much space, maybe even more. So that small, coolies, where, you know, the people we work with, their kids and all. They don't even have fans, a lot of them. So forget about AC, all the things that, because of which we have had this problem, you know, over the years, they never benefited from it, right? And now they are the ones who are suffering the most. It's just like mind-blowing, you know, boggling when you, for me, it's such a contrast living in the Silicon Valley, in the richest place on earth, one of the richest places, and you go down over there and you, like, these shacks, you wonder how they really have these, you know, one, like if there are 5 kids in the house, they're literally sleeping like this. They have their small, you know, cooking right there. They use a common toilet, and they're like 3-4 girls. And so, I mean, it's just a contrast, but it's also like just climate justice when we talk about climate justice, because the climate, I mean, you pollute it here, it impacts the rest of the world as well, right? I think it's important to think of that, and also the solutions like EV, we talked about, you know, EV came up a lot of times. There's also the angle of where they're extracting, you know, all that is needed, and some of the war, like, you know, how that gets really interconnected. Everything is interconnected. And so, and when we were talking about, say, for example, some of the tribals, right, there was some really, like, you know, partners of Greta Thunberg who were there in one of the webinars from India, you know, she's very active. So we were talking about one challenge when you say move to clean energy, you also need to ensure that the people, because a lot of the people who have jobs, you have to ensure that they still have jobs, right? Because okay, one is that they're not they never benefited from all this, but then for them to lose the job because now we messed up the environment, and they should lose their job because we're going to go into another source of energy. So that's where we get a very different perspective, when you actually like talk to people who are like kind of at the receiving end. So I just thought of bringing that up. But like going back to like when I introduced myself, I'm looking for ways to engage with youth, and that's why I would love to like talk to maybe some of you later on also. And of course, Green Party, Sean, I actually campaigned for him. I just yesterday I flew in everything. Yes, we will. I'm part of. There's a group on WhatsApp. I'm in that group. We're pushing him to stand. So thank you. Yeah.